Hello, this is Ken Ferry with this week's Boots in the Field report. Another excellent week of weather. Growers continue to finish up the fertilizer and lime spreading, winter burn downs going on, and still some tillage being done out there. This week I'd like to put some thought into what could play out next spring. For a big part of our customer base in Illinois, we now have moved into the abnormally dry to severe drought on the drought map. We're not as bad a shape as the boys out west in western Iowa and the Dakotas, and I realize this can all change in a week or two time frame. But many growers are reporting how dry it is when they're doing tillage and tiling, and the fact that tile lines aren't running anymore. The fact that winter moisture levels are usually low, and we're about to freeze up. So if we do get any moisture, it's most likely going to run off. The odds of correcting this shortage before spring are not good. Matter of fact, I expect the drought map to continue to grow. We all breathe easier if our soil water reservoir is full at planting. With a full reservoir of soil water, a lot of Illinois soils can make it to June in pretty good shape. Without it, it can get in trouble pretty quick. Stand establishment, early growth issues. Now the sky's not falling, and we all know what a wet couple of weeks can do for us in the spring. What I want to talk about is preparing to handle a dry winter and spring. There are some things we can do to help us in this situation if it would happen to show up. This fall, a lot of tillage was done due to dry conditions, and we're taking out compaction layers. In most cases, we got a lot of good fracturing. As I drive the countryside, we have a lot of fields that are broke up and they look pretty rough. I see a lot of boulder-sized clods out there and definitely 6-inch peaks and valleys or more. As a rule of thumb, I'd like to see those peaks and valleys here in Illinois to be no more than 3 inches after we go through the winter freezing thaw cycles. With less than 3-inch peaks and valleys in the spring, we can apply our herbicides before spring tillage pass and not worry about herbicide streaking or burying that herbicide too deep. When peak and valleys are in that 3 to 6 inch range, the field will have to be leveled first. You're going to have a leveling pass before you can apply that herbicide. The timing of this pass can get tricky. The top of that 6-inch peak will dry out quickly as it's exposed to sun and wind, but the bottom of the valley is slow to dry out. Growers can be working the field and kicking up a good dust cloud from the peaks while putting in compaction at tillage depth. Our recommendation is always to dig down to 1 inch below the tillage depth to see if you can ball up that soil in your hand and ribbon it between your thumb and your forefinger. If you can, you're putting in a compaction layer if you work it that wet. If we have a dry spring, it'll make it easier to get dry enough for tillage and not add compaction. But in a dry spring, when we knock the dry peaks into the valleys, we need to wait for moisture to homogenize in that valley. These valleys before we can plant. If we plant our crop into those dry valleys and no homogenation takes place, we'll have shoddy stands. We'll be able to see streaks on how our corn emerges and our bean emerge in those valleys. If we come into the spring with less than 3-inch peaks and valleys, we can put our herbicide on and preserve our moisture until we're ready to plant. A level surface works much better for maintaining a uniform waterfront to plant into. My suggestion is take a good look at your tilled fields to see if you think they will overwinter at less than 3-inch peaks and valleys. If not, you may look at the opportunity to go out and level them up. Talking with a grower today who said leveling is going nice as the ground is dry and it's laying out nice and smooth behind his machine. Leveling now, while it's dry, would eliminate issues with wheel tracks and give you the opportunity to get some freezing and thawing on those tracks. With the soil being dry, this leveling could be done with whatever tool you're running in the spring. No doubt, though, a vertical harrow would be preferred to not bury any more residue than you have to. If the field is level and we get plenty of rain in the spring to ward off the spring drought, no harm is done. The field is level, allowing for early spraying and planting when conditions allow. Yield maps have been coming in at a very fast pace. The office crew appreciates that as they are starting the processing of these yield maps. I know a number of customers are dealing with COVID issues. If you haven't got your yield data in yet, get it to us as soon as you can. At this point, yield maps and soil test consultations will be through a Zoom format. We'll be doing our basic and winter meetings in a virtual format as well at this time. To stay up to date, check out our website at croptechinc.com and subscribe to our podcast, Boots in the Field Report. Keep her safe, keep her moving.